What the Martin Luther King holiday means to me, Kevin B. Jones. President Ronald Reagan signed the Martin Luther King holiday into law in 1983. It was first officially observed as a national holiday 3 days later on January 20th, 1986. January 20th, 1986 is a pertinent day for me. There's too much before this date. I left active duty service from the United States Army after serving just under 8 years of honorable service. My time in the United States Army started when I enlisted and left my hometown, Compton, California, 2 days after graduating from high school in 1978. I did well in the United States Army. I reached the rank of Staff Sergeant E6, and actually in my final year I was offered a re-enlistment package that included sending me to Warrant Officer School if I re-enlisted. But I turned it down. Everyone thought I was crazy. The chief warrant officer I worked for, CW4, Hector Octavio Camacho. He was a great man. He was so disappointed. He could not understand how I could turn down such a great opportunity considering where I came from. But in my heart, I knew from the day I first enlisted in the Army that this was just a part of my journey in life. To say I grew up in the Army is an understatement. I didn't know anything else. I've been in since I was 17 years old. I'm going 25, 26 now. During my time in service, I used every opportunity to take college classes. That was my plan. That was the reason I enlisted in the Army. In my last 3 years, actually last 3.5 years, I focused on computer programming classes. This was it. This was the new wave. I could see it was coming. I used every free moment to learn computer systems and practice programming. BASIC, Pascal, COBOL, Fortran, Assembler. Understand, in November of 1985, the internet and the email of today did not exist. I used to have my mother mail me the complete entire section of the classified section of the Los Angeles Times newspaper. I could see there were jobs to be had, better paying jobs. I knew if I could be as successful as I had been in the Army, that I could make it in the outside world. I would also say, somebody's going to fuck up and let me get my foot in the door, and I'm never going to look back. Turning down the warrant officer package was one of the early hard decisions I had made in life. I had been in the United States Army since the age of 17. I had achieved so much. I had so much I was going to throw away. But I had to try this computer programming thing. I had to take a chance on myself. God was on my side because I got an interview for a position in the McDonnell Douglas Aerospace Computers Room just over a month after leaving the Army. I remember the person interviewing me asked me what computer and compiler was I using to code. And I remember I had my head down. I said C64. I was so embarrassed to say I used the Commodore 64. But I used that because that was a recommendation of a computer instructor I had in Germany, one of my computer classes. He said, no, this is the one to use. Not Apple, not IBM. Use this one. The interviewer said, really? That's what I use. He then called over another person in the office, and the three of us just sat there for the remainder of the interview and talked about the challenges of using a C64 in a program. I could not believe that was happening. I told the interviewer that my goal was to become a software programmer. The interviewer said, that's great. Unfortunately, because I was still some credits away from completing my BA in computer science, he said, you can and should start in operations. He said, but this is good because you will learn the ins and outs of our mainframe systems that a lot of new college hires here never get. But he said, keep going to school, and after a few years, you can apply for an internal transfer to one of the systems software teams. They come up. He said, that's how a lot of people get promoted here. Bet I got hired, and I started in January of 1986. To make this long story short, I was working in the tape library system area when the MLK holiday came up. The manager called the team over and for the shift I was on. She said, I'm going to need some volunteers to work this new holiday. As clear as day, one of my co-workers, an older white woman from Orange County, I have a lot of people from Orange County there, I'll never forget them. I can remember she said it. I can't believe they gave that nigger a holiday. Said it just loud enough that we could hear her. I was standing right next to her. Was I shocked? A little bit. But no, I wasn't surprised. Didn't faze me. I've heard worse. But I raised my hand and I said to our manager, I said out loud for everyone to hear, if it weren't for Dr. Martin Luther King, I wouldn't be working here. I work all 3 days. I wasn't in tape library system for long. After a few months, I got promoted to our small computer systems team. Man, that was an amazing job. A short time after that, I wasn't there long either. I got promoted to our MVS MRC console operations team. That was a hard job, but it was challenging, but that was the one you had to go through. And a year after that, just as the interviewer had said to me, when I first interviewed, I had learned so much. I saw that there was a job opening in our storage systems area. I applied for it, and I got that job. Couldn't believe it. I made it. I was salaried, had a cubicle. One of the first projects I worked on was to help install and configure automated tape drive systems. This equipment would eliminate the need for humans who were working in the tape library where I had worked before. Those jobs are going away. They were going to be replaced by a computer, by this machine that basically automatically mounted the tapes. That lady who made that racist comment about the Martin Luther King holiday, she was still in that apartment. What the Martin Luther King holiday means to me, be extremely grateful for those who came before me and fought to give me the rights and opportunities that I have today. To do the same for others whenever and wherever I can, and to always believe in myself. Kevin B. Jones.